So part 2 here of the Shootin' the Bull podcast with Bullbait Rods and Mr. Dustin Phillips. So, first part we talked a lot about the beginning stages of bullbait and all that kind of stuff. Now I just want you to tell people, everything that went wrong. Some funny stories, some things. It doesn't have to be fishing related, just some crazy things.
So you want to hear about stuff that nobody else has heard about? Okay. I got quite a long list. I'll see if I can collectively remember it all. So let me just get ready. A really good story for this one. This one is okay. There's 3 people that know this story. Okay, or 4 people I should say. The 3 people on the boat and my dad. And my dad only knows this story because I had to tell him this story. So we're about a year in of working with Jake and Tyler, the new building, like we're building the rods, yada, yada, yada. I'm like, hey, Dad, let me take the Pathfinder out. I'm going to take Jake and Tyler fishing. We're just going to get out on a Friday and skip work. They've been working hard. And he's like, oh, that's a great idea. Gas is in it. You're good. Just here's the key. Go to whatever spots. So I'm like, awesome. So I tell them, they're excited. I'm like, be at my parents' house. 5 a.m. We're gonna head out. So they show up. They've got their jacked up rods that they built. Still learning how to build. Yeah, there's glue fingerprints on them and stuff. So they got their rods. I grabbed some of my dad's rods because I just used his half the time. I didn't really have my own. So I grabbed his stuff. We grabbed tackle box. We load up. Boat's already in the water on the boat lift. So take down. Jake knew a spot nearby that we could go throw for some live bait. So we go to this tower, and me personally, I've never really driven the boat around the tower getting bait, because normally me and my dad will fish artificial. So, I've driven the boat all over, but we've never done, hey, go to this tower and, hold in the current, whatever. So Tyler, he has a Pathfinder as well, so he's familiar. So I'm like, hey, Tyler, can you want to drive it around this pylon, and I'll help Jake with the cast net. So Jake grabs the cast net, and my dad has a custom whatever brand cast net, like, really high end $400, $500 one. So he takes the cast net, and we're 10 feet from the pylon or whatever. So Jake throws, current's ripping, yanks the cast net. Once it hits the water and starts sinking, the cast net yanks into the pylons and gets wrapped up in it. And Jake's holding on to it, and he's, oh crap, like it's stuck, I can't get it off. And the boat, Tyler tries to get us a little bit closer, see if we can kind of like shake it off. Well, the boat starts drifting towards the pylons, and my first instinct isn't like, oh, we're gonna hit it. It's, oh no, my dad's new tarpon rod is on the back of the boat. I can't mess that up. So I would go from helping Jake, and I sprint to the back of the boat, go to grab this rod, and flip headfirst out of the boat, straight into the water, right next to the pylon. Thank God I didn't hit this pylon with all these, crustaceans and oysters and everything on it. So I fall out of the boat, and it was like instantaneous. I was out of the boat, in the boat. I flipped myself over, pulled myself in so fast. Phone's in my pocket. Oh crap. So my phone, I grab it out of my pocket and I throw it down to get it all out of my wet hands and pocket. I throw it straight into the live well, full of water, full of bait. I'm like, oh. So I literally then dive on the ground, grab that. My it's all jacked up right already. I'm like, dang, are you freaking kidding me? I'm freaking out. Meanwhile, while this is all happening, Jake's hands turning purple from the rope of the cast net's wrapped around his hand. His hands turning purple. He's like, I can't get this off. Like, it's just chaos. So Tyler's trying to get the boat maneuvered. So somehow or another, the cast net shakes loose. We pull it back in. No holes in it, nothing. I don't know how, as long as it was kind of pulled on and on that kind. There's no holes in it. It wasn't jacked up.
Your dad's cast net.
Yeah, my dad's a nice cast net, so it was nothing's wrong with it. We're like, oh my God, we're so lucky. So we put the cast net up. I'm drenched, soaking wet. My phone's screwed. Kind of rebound a little bit, and I'm like, well. So I put my phone in the dry box. And I was like, I'm gonna have to get a new phone. It is what it is. But then what I found out in that rush of me flipping out of the boat, I made my dad a custom Cowboys themed rod because he's a Dallas Cowboys fan. Boo, whatever. I made him a custom Dallas Cowboys rod, and it was in the side gunnel, not even in use. I guess when I flipped out of the boat, I kicked it and broke it in half. So I broke his rod. But that's not the worst part. there was another rod in the seat, on the seat rod holder. I guess when I flipped out of the boat, my rear foot kicked the bottom of the reel in the rod holder and launched it about 30 feet in the air into the freaking middle of the water. Brand new Quantum Smoke $190 reel. Like, I mean, I'm talking like he got it the day before. Brand new line, brand new rod. Kicked it out of the boat into the water, gone. Probably 15, 20 feet, no salvaging. So I broke his custom rod that he used pretty much all the time. I launched his rod and reel into the water and potentially ruined a cast net, which we didn't know at the time. We were kind of just guessing, but
you saved the tarpon rod.
I think the tarpon rod. Yeah, actually, you know what the funny part is? The tarpon rod actually never was even going to hit anything. So I never actually hit. I never saved. I removed it. It was. I guess the way I looked at it, I thought it was going to hit the pylon. It was not even at risk. It was feet, a couple feet away from it. So all that for really nothing. The best part about it is Tyler and Jake, I swore to secrecy, we're not telling any of them this happened. So I was like, I'm going to rebuild his Cowboys rod and I'm going to sneak it back in the house. So when I get home, I rebuild his Cowboys rod, to my memory as good as I can, and I put it back. And I didn't even say anything about the reel because I'm like, I'm not going to buy a $180 reel. I'm just going to, see if he notices. He didn't notice. He had no idea because he's got like 4 or 5 of those reels, so he didn't notice that particular one was missing. But something about the rod that what I remade was a little different. Like, well, for one, it would look brand new versus being used pretty heavily. So he eventually was like, "Do you like redo this rod or something? Like it looks way like cleaner and newer." And I was like, "Oh, I just sanded the grips down. It looked a little dirty." He's like, "Oh, okay." I finally was like, I'm just going to tell him because the cast net's fine, so he can't get mad at me then. Actually, pause that. What made me tell him was he asked if we use live bait or artificial, and I didn't have an immediate answer. I kind of paused because I was like, oh crap, I didn't. Maybe he knew or something, and I froze. He's like, well, like what's wrong? Did you not use it? Did you get live bait? And I was like, okay. So then I tell him the whole story. He checks the net and he's like, dude, you're lucky you didn't get hurt or whatever. And I'm like, yeah, I'm not going to take the boat out on my own like that again. So that was, that one right there. Nobody else has heard this outside of that core group of people. It was a pretty exciting little experience.
And Tyler and Jake, and they can't, or not Tyler, Tyler and Jake. So, and if someone asks them, they got to send them to this video, make them watch this.
Yeah, exactly. So they may get tagged, tag them in the comments or something. Like, I'm not going to tell them I'm even telling that story, but they'll find out, I guess, eventually. But that one was it was embarrassing. What was even more embarrassing actually was we finished out that day, and I went to like 2 or 3 of my spots. Jake took us a couple of his spots. We caught 2 catfish all day, so we didn't even catch anything worth a hoot. So it was just total horrible day. That kind of summarizes the experience of fishing. Like, you either have great days or everything hits the fan and you're screwed. But fishing's tough.
Well, makes for a good story.
Yeah, absolutely. So now in hindsight, looking back, it's like, oh, this is hilarious. But at the moment, it was my phone's screwed. I broke 2 rods. Cost a lot of money and time, but it ain't embarrassed me.
Well, if you made it this far, thanks for watching. We appreciate you making it to the very end of this video. So if you made it this far and you aren't subscribed, make sure you subscribe to this channel. We're going to be having guests on from people who work in the shop, people who we work with all across the state of Florida and all across the country. And really, we want to make this podcast a community for you guys to check in week to week and see what's going on the water, here at Bull Bay Rods, and everything in between. So with that being said, thanks for watching and see you next time. Peace.